Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct today from Black Facts Headquarters Central. Hope everybody had a good night and is having an even better day. Today is the dawning of a brand new day here in the USA. I was just upstairs talking to one of my brothers, and I talked to him when I first started hearing the rumblings coming out of Washington that Juneteenth appeared to be on its way to becoming a nationally celebrated holiday, or a federal holiday. That's what I wanted to say, federal holiday. And I mentioned to him, I said, hey man, well this may mean that you get a paid day off. We've been taking days off for Juneteenth and recognizing Juneteenth before, but now you could actually get paid to take the day off. And we joked about it and, kidded around about it and everything. And I talked to him today, and he's now informing me that, in fact, he will be getting this Monday off. So if you're on a federal job, congratulations. You just got another paid day off. Coming up on this Monday, apparently Juneteenth is going to be recognized as a federal holiday on as a Monday holiday, like Martin Luther King Day and a bunch of other days, because this year Juneteenth definitely falls on a Saturday. But once the Congress approved it and the Senate approved it, and then President Biden signed off on it, it's happening. It was surprising. I've never seen anything like this before, where where we went from 0 to 60, just like that. Never seen anything like this before in my entire life. So it was quite surprising when he called me early this morning to let me know that, in fact, he would be getting the day off. So from here on out, y'all, Juneteenth is now happening. A federal holiday. And I have to keep saying it that way because it had been a national thing. Matter of fact, Juneteenth had even gone international some time ago. However, people were not getting people were getting paid days off. They, from what I understand, the state of Texas had already had that as as part of their MO. That in the state of Texas, people were had been getting a day off from work, paid day off, from back in the 70s, 1972, something like that. So from some time ago. So at this point, we're just raising the bar, taking it to the next level. We're into some next level stuff right here. So we're going to go ahead and continue on with our celebration of Juneteenth over here. As scheduled, as planned, so on and so forth. It's not going to change anything for us too much here, except that we are going to be doing another feature. We are going to be featuring somebody else before we finish with Juneteenth month, because this year we're celebrating Juneteenth for an entire month. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Juneteenth today and let everybody know that somebody's been listening. Somebody's been listening and paying attention to some things that people have worked long and hard for. There's some people out there that have been working for years trying to get Juneteenth to be a national holiday. And here we are today, finally arrived at the appointed day and time where Juneteenth now is officially a federal holiday. So congratulations to all. we're going to carry on with our program here. And, we got some things we want to do today. Number one, among them being to remind everybody, if you have not already, then please do it now. Go ahead and give us a like if you're watching on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube, and then go ahead and what we're asking right now, instead of just asking for donations right now, what we want from people is to just go ahead and subscribe to the Tubular Black Facts channel. If you could just do that, that would be excellent. Okay, we have some members, they're in the low hundreds, okay, that have become members of our have subscribed to our Tubular Black Facts channel. But we do need to have you vote. We need to have you vote by subscribing. So your subscription is just like a vote. Meanwhile, we'll carry on here, and certainly we're going to be continuing on to talk about the story of Sojourner Truth. We're going to be reading, this is our last day to read from the narrative of Sojourner Truth, otherwise known as Isabella Bomefree. Isabella Bomefree. We've got a really dynamic program we're putting together now for the weekend. So make sure to tune in on Saturday and Sunday, because we're going to have a really, really, really dynamic program for you this weekend dealing with Juneteenth. We'll focus on children's material on Sunday. Saturday, we're going to focus on the adult material, and we're definitely going to be laser focused in on Sojourner Truth, the Juneteenth holiday. I won't tell you who our surprise guest will be, but we're going to have a surprise guest, someone who's still alive, who has been working diligently to bring Juneteenth into being as a federal holiday. So we do have some surprises for you on the weekend, so pay attention. That'll be 12 noon on Saturday, and again 12 noon on Sunday. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and do our proverb of the day. First and foremost, let's get it on with the proverb of the day. Okay, well, here we go. We did one yesterday from the Congo, and apparently the Congolese are in ascendancy right now. So we got another one from the Congo today. A pretty basket does not prevent worries. A pretty basket does not prevent worries. And that reminds me of something that one of my students said to me one time when I was in school, when I was going to school every day, working in the schools. They said to me that they knew they were smart because they were pretty. Now, I just want y'all to think about that. Just let that one sink in for a minute. This child told me, this is middle school, this child told me that she knew she was smart because she was pretty. Yeah, just let that one sink in. I'm not going to say no more about that because that's a proverb all by itself. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and shift gears and move into our segment for the day, the meat of our topic here. We're going to be reading more about Sojourner Truth. And I thought we already read this. I guess that was, we must have read about, we read about the death of Sojourner Truth's mother. So we're going to pick up today with the death of her father, who was known as Bomefree, or in Dutch, it would probably be closer to Baumfree. Okay, I'm not exactly sure the pronunciation there. If you speak Dutch, go ahead and chime in and let me know how I should have said that name. Okay, because Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, aber kein, whatever they call Dutch. I don't even know what they call Dutch in German. Niederlander. Or Niederlandisch. Probably Niederlandisch. All right? So, meanwhile, on with the story of Sojourner Truth. There we go. Sojourner. The death of Bomefree. A rude cabin in a lone wood, far from any neighbors, was granted to our freed friends as the only assistance they were now to expect. Bomefree, from this time, found his poor needs hardly supplied, as his new providers were scarce able to administer to their own wants. However, the time drew near when things were to be decidedly worse rather than better, for they had not been together long before Betty died, and shortly after Caesar followed her to that bourne from whence no traveler returns, leaving poor James again desolate and more helpless than ever before. At this time, there was no kind family in the house, and the Ardenbergs no longer invited him to their homes. Tell you, they turned this man out to pasture. Yet lone, blind, and helpless as he was, James, for a time, lived on. This man just refused to die. One day, an aged colored woman named Soan called at his shanty, and James besought her in the most moving manner, even with tears, to tarry a while and wash and mend him up so that he might once more be decent and comfortable, for he was suffering dreadfully with the filth and vermin that had collected upon him. Soan was herself an emancipated slave, old and weak, with no one to care for her. And she lacked the courage to undertake a job of such seeming magnitude, fearing she might herself get sick and perish there without assistance, and with great reluctance and a heart swelling with pity. As she afterwards declared, she felt obliged to leave him in his wretchedness and filth. And shortly after her visit, this faithful slave, this deserted wreck of humanity, was found on his miserable pallet, frozen and stiff in death. The kind angel had come at last and relieved him of the many miseries that his fellow man had heaped upon him. Yes, he had died, chilled and starved, with none to speak a kindly word or do a kindly deed for him in that last dread hour of need. The news of his death reached the ears of John Ardenberg, a grandson of the old colonel, and he declared that Bomefree, who had ever been a kind and faithful slave, should now have a quote-unquote good funeral. And now, gentle reader, what think you constituted a good funeral? Answer: some black paint for the coffin and a jug of ardent spirits. What a compensation for a life of toil, of patient submission to repeated robberies of the most aggravated kind, and also far more than murderous neglect. Mankind often vainly attempt to atone for unkindness or cruelty to the living by honoring the same after death. But John Ardenberg undoubtedly meant his pot of paint and jug of whiskey should act as an opiate on his slaves rather than on his own seared conscience. Now, we leave off with the death of Bomefree. Certainly a sad chapter in history. And we move on with the commencement of Isabella's trials in life, the trials and tribulations of Sojourner Truth. So her story really starts here because we just finishing up with her parents. Having seen the sad end of her parents, so far as it relates to this earthly life, we will return with Isabella to that memorable auction which threatened to separate her mother and father. A slave auction is a terrible affair to its victims, and its incidents and consequences are graves on their hearts as with a pen of burning steel. At this memorable time, Isabella was struck off for the sum of $100 to one John Neely of Ulster County, New York. And she has an impression that in this sale, she was connected with a lot of sheep. She was now 9 years of age, and her trials in life may be dated from this period. She says with emphasis, now the war begun. She could only talk Dutch, and the Neelys could only talk English. Mr. Neely could understand Dutch, but Isabel and her mistress could neither of them understand the language of the other, and this of itself was a formidable obstacle in the way of a good, quote unquote, understanding between them. And for some time was a fruitful source of dissatisfaction to the mistress and of punishment and suffering to Isabella. She says, if they sent me for a frying pan, not knowing what they meant, perhaps I carried them the pothooks and trommels, which I don't know what a trammel is. Then, oh, how angry mistress would be with me. Then she suffered terribly, terribly with the cold. During the winter, her feet were badly frozen for want of proper covering. They gave her a plenty to eat and also a plenty of whippings. One Sunday morning in particular, she was told to go to the barn. On going there, she found her master with a bundle of rods prepared in the embers and bound together with cords. When he had tied her hands together before her, he gave her the most cruel whipping she was ever tortured with. He whipped her till the flesh was deeply lacerated and the blood streamed from her wounds, and the scars remain to the present day to testify to the fact. And now she says, when I hear them all tell of whipping women on the bare flesh, it makes my flesh crawl and my very hair rise on my head. Now, you know that's hard because, you know, her hair was already nappy. Okay, for her hair to rise, that really is saying something here. Oh my God, she continues. What a way is this of treating human beings. In these hours of her extremity, she did not forget the instructions of her mother to go to God in all her trials and every affliction. And she not only remembered, but obeyed, going to him and telling him all and asking him if he thought it was right and begging him to protect and shield her from her persecutors. She always asked with an unwavering faith that she should receive just what she pled for. And now she says, though it seems curious, quote unquote, I do not remember ever asking for anything but what I got it. And I always received it as an answer to my prayers. When I got beaten, I never knew it long enough beforehand to pray. And I always thought if I only had had time to pray to God for help, I should have escaped the beating. She had no idea God had any knowledge of her thoughts, save what she told him, or heard her prayers, unless they were spoken audibly. And consequently, she could not pray unless she had time and opportunity to go by herself, where she could talk to God without being overheard. And that, my children, is what Juneteenth is all about. So, yes, Juneteenth is now a federal holiday. Yay! However, Juneteenth is not a day to, well, Juneteenth is a day to celebrate. But I wanted to be clear, what is it that we're celebrating? Okay? And what we're celebrating here is the ability to live without being beaten worse than you would beat your dog. Because if you were to beat a dog with rods heated up in a fire before being beat and then tied up, that would be, oh, they'd have you under a jail somewhere. You would never be heard from again. You'd be like Alex Navalny over there in Russia. Shoot, you wouldn't get no food, you wouldn't get no doctor, and that you certainly wouldn't be heard from any more, period, dot. You do not beat a dog like that at all. Yet, and still, our ancestors, in this case, we're talking about Sojourner Truth, this is how she was treated. And we already read about her mother and her father, how they were treated, where they had to live at, etc. When she talks about her feet being cold and suffering from frostbite, think about what that means. What does it mean? Her feet got so cold and she suffered from frostbite. Why would that be? And they didn't have proper coverings. That's because niggas didn't get shoes. You don't waste shoe leather on niggas. They got feet. That'll do. So imagine living in upstate New York, Ulster County, New York. Let me call it out. Ulster County, New York, with no shoes in the winter. Imagine that. And you still got to work, go outside and do all your normal tasks and duties and chores, etc. And God only knows where they had her living. Was she living in a cellar? I don't know. But I do know that we're going to be doing something special on her on the weekend. And we'll include some links where you can actually gain access to the entire narrative of Sojourner Truth and read it for yourself, because it bears a reading. Now, I know for a lot of y'all out there, this is hard to do because many of us do not want to, I ain't talking about white folks, I'm talking about black folks. Many of us do not want to talk about slavery, much less read about it. Like what I just read, that little short description, that was just a page and a half I read about that beating. This book is like 500 pages deep. So that was just one out of many experiences Sojourner Truth had in her life. You can also get it as a, what do you call them? An audio book as well. So, you can have somebody read it to you. If you have problems reading, have somebody read it to you. But the point I'm making here is just that for me, as a sexagenarian, because that's what I am. I'm a sexagenarian. Okay, I'm over 60 years old. I am just now getting to the point where I can read something like the description of that beating that Sojourner Truth took without becoming so angry, then I want to just go out and choke the first person I see. And that's what I've been avoiding most of my life. I knew in my youth that if I had read slave narratives, etc., I could have easily hurt somebody. So I wouldn't, I know how I am. I wasn't reading that stuff. So I understand where you're coming from on that one. However, it's time for us to put on our big boy pants. You know what I'm saying? Put on your big boy pants. Step up to the plate. And let's remember exactly what it is that we're talking about. Exactly what we're talking about. Not what somebody imagined or anything like that. That's why I like reading narratives. That's why I like reading autobiographies. So this is what we're doing here on the Tubular Black Facts. This is what we do every day here at Doc Ock at noon and 9. So if you like what we're doing, you know what you need to do. Number 1, give us a like if you're watching on Facebook. Number 2, give us a thumbs up if you're watching on the YouTube. And then first and foremost, make sure that you get on YouTube and subscribe to the Black Facts Tubular channel. We're the only tubular channel on YouTube. So you can Google it. Black Facts Tubular channel will pop right up. We're the only one. Okay? So we finally came up with a name that everybody could remember that was unique enough to where you could Google it. So go ahead, go on the Black Facts Tubular, go on to Google and type in Black Facts Tubular channel and subscribe. If you could do that today, we would much appreciate it. As we go and sign off here, we're going to just give a wave and a shout out to Shaka Hasbury. I see you over there, Shaka. What's going on, my brother? I see Ian over there. I saw somebody else before that. Where's the other person at? There was one more I thought that was in there. Maybe it was just Ian and Shaka that I'm seeing here right now. All right. And, tonight we're going to be continuing on. Tonight and over the weekend, we're going to be continuing on with the story of Mary Stagecoach Fields. Okay? We're not going to be reading from, I don't know that we're going to be reading from this book here, Deliverance. I might do some reading from that, but it's a children's hour, so I really don't want to read from this particular book unless I found something in there really good to share with the children. But we've got some other surprises for the children, and we've got a really dynamic piece that we're going to put out on Sunday. So that's at 9 o'clock. Doc Ock at noon and 9, signing off. Peace out with justice, because anything less disgusts us. We like being discussed, but we don't want to be disgusted. Peace out, y'all.